ESPN, the Total Sports Network, and the Professional Bowlers Association tonight brings you the $125,000 Hammer Open from Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma. Tonight's telecast is being brought to you by Columbia 300. By Budweiser, Beechwood Age, for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And here's a look at tonight's matches. A rookie, Jack Jurek, out of West Texas State, will bowl out of the number 5 slot against the aquatic one, Guppy Troup. In the number 3 slot, a television finalist last week, Wagner. Bowling out of the number 2 position, it's two-time PBA champion Walter Ray Williams Jr. And Brian Voss will bowl out of the number 1 seed position tonight, looking for his first title since 1984. Good evening, everybody. I'm Denny Schreiner, and welcome to Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma, for the finals of the $125,000 Hammer Open. Normally, there are only 2 sports in the state of Oklahoma: football and then spring football. But this week, sports fans in Oklahoma focused their attention on the world of professional bowling, and Mike Durbin, I'm very sure that they're glad that they did. The pros rolled out the red carpet and 7 300 games.
And we might make some bowling fans out of all those football fans, as we had tremendous high scores all week long. It took a 220 average to make our top 24, and our tournament leader, Brian Voss, averaged a fantastic 229. And I really think the reason for the high scores this week, Denny, was that the pros always seem to find a way to get to the 1-3 or 1-2 pocket. What slows them down is sometimes the leaving the corner pins, inability, as the pros say, to carry. But this week, the carry has been very good. They've been able to carry those 7s and 10s. We might even have a chance for a 300 on the telecast tonight, Dan.
One professional bowler who had an outstanding week is obviously your favorite, the colorful Guppy Troup.
Making his first appearance on our national televised show this year, Guppy's been in a bit of a slump. He's only made $12,000 so far this year. He's a 5-step player, keeps the ball relatively straight, makes his spares. Tonight, he'll be playing right around between that 1st and 2nd arrow. And Guppy told me, Den, before the show that he almost didn't come here this week, and he had a long talk with our tournament director, Harry Golden, and Harry Golden kind of talked to him like a father, and they talked about mental attitude, among other things. Guppy decided to come here and bowl the tournament, and it may pay dividends in a new title for Guppy Troup.
In the old days, Mike, it used to be the veterans that put together the pressure bowling down the stretch and made the telecast. But for the 5th consecutive week, we've got a first-year player on the show.
And that first-year player is Jack Jurek, and he comes with very, very impressive credentials. He was a 2-time college All-American at Wichita State University. In 1984, he won the FIQ World Cup, and then also in 1984, he was voted Amateur Bowler of the Year. So he comes with very, very impressive credentials. If that's not enough, this is the first tournament that he has bowled as a PBA member. He just completed the PBA school. He had bowled in 2 previous tournaments as a PBA non-member, not a member at all, and he finished 16th and 45th. This week, as the first time as a member, he's on our telecast, has a chance to win his first PBA title, but tonight, he's going to get his true baptism of fire.
Mike, overall, the finals field, a very talented field, and a couple of very hot bowlers and some experienced players, so we should see a pretty good show.
I think so. Wagner's continued his very, very hot bowling, making his 2nd consecutive championship round appearance. And old Deadeye, Walter Ray Williams, our horseshoe pitching champion, going next week to defend his title, has a chance to win his 3rd title of the year, and he's right in the hunt for Bowler of the Year. Brian Voss making his 5th appearance in our championship round, still looking for his first title tonight.
Speaking of first titles, Jack Jurek will be in search of his, and obviously a chance to bowl in the Firestone Tournament of Champions. He will be very nervous, I have a feeling, when the lights go on this evening. But Guppy Troup, on the other hand, out of Neptune Beach, Florida, well, he's got other things to worry about. Not ball selection, not which lane to start or finish on. He's got to figure out what pair of pants to wear on tonight's telecast. And only time will tell. Let's hope we all have dark sunglasses when he decides. Opening match, Jack Jurek and Guppy Troup. And there you see them, the contestants for the opening match, Jack Jurek and Guppy Troup. Troup, obviously, would like to get off to a very fast start. It's been a very difficult year for him.
And he's picked to finish or start, as he gives his wife Holly a quick kiss here for good luck to start off. He's picked to start on lane 33. The reason is that he's had a little bit more trouble with that lane. He's been hitting 34 much better. He wants to finish in the 10th frame on lane 34.
Opening shot of the opening match. Championship pair here at Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma. Lanes 33 and 34.
He was having trouble in practice, but as soon as they turn the lights on, he has a way of coming through.
Does that mean he's going to kiss Holly every time before he stands up on the approach?
Well, let's see. We get our first look at Jack Jurek, who earlier I said was a two-time All-American at Wichita State, and here I've just moved to Texas, and he's from West Texas State. They're going to throw me out of the state here.
Well, Wichita State and West Texas State, two of the prominent powers in collegiate bowling. And I imagine the nerves are running a little high, but guess what? Doesn't make much difference. The 1-3 pocket is all that Jack Jurek sees, and the match is all tied after the opening frame.
And Dan, as I watched him in practice, that's all he was doing in practice, is he was just throwing strike after strike after strike in practice. Very impressed with the style of this young man and the roll that he has on his ball. As the ball goes down the lane, you see the white emblem on it just picking up revs, and the ball just is a blur going down there.
On the week, Jack averaged 221.5, only 23 years of age, and this obviously his first ever appearance on national television.
Trying for an early double, and has it. Woo, that one held, didn't it?
Held and went flush, and I don't think there was any doubt whatsoever. Really a miracle of sorts that Jurek even made the telecast this evening, and we'll talk about that after this first replay.
High backswing, right at the peak of the backswing there. Good loft out on the lane. Look at the follow-through, come straight up. And here it looks like the ball might go a little high, and it holds dead flush in the pocket. Guppy trying to even it up. And Guppy, when he gets it going, has as good a carry as anybody in the PBA Tour.
He will swish him around a little bit. Getting back to Jurek, though, last night, position round game, he was in the number 6 position. And trailing John Gant, had to beat him by 50 pins in the final game, the position round game, to make the telecast, and ended up winning by 60 pins, 208-148. So it's a blessing he's even here this evening.
John Gant had a horrendous 148 his last game,
and tried as hard as he could on every shot. Just got a little bit locked up and got into trouble. Both players with a double here in the opening match. The scores have been high this week. And once again, Guppy Troup with a bit of a swisher gets them all to roll around a little bit, and the 7-pin was the last to fall.
What's the old adage? Hit him thin and watch him spin?
Or is it hit him thin and watch him win?
Well, we're going to see him spin here if we can get Guppy out of the way. You watch the head pin. The head pin barely hits the 2, goes to the wall, and the pins just dance around, and they all go down.
Jack Jurek, I'm happy with his grip. Steps off the approach, and that's a good sign.
Look at him taking the entire length of the approach. His heels are right on the edge. 5-step player. Very square. Good lift. Oh, that's impressive, Denny.
High game this week for Jack Jurek was 277. His low game was 146. Match play, 15-9 overall.
There we see 6 X's. Well, they're a third of the way there for that true value 25,000. Maybe it's a little too early to start talking about that.
Well, that's what you told me when we were talking about Jim Harvey in Tucson. He had the first 11.
A little extra time this frame. More room. He just got careful with that, Dan. Mentally, inside, he just wasn't ready to throw that shot, and he couldn't make himself execute it the way he should.
Jack asked it to hurry as he let it go, so immediately when the ball left his hand, he had a feeling that it wasn't going to quite get there.
He just knew he hadn't gotten the proper lift with the fingers. Has a relatively easy spare. Don't put the kiss of death on him here. Miss it on the 2-pin. He throws his ball fairly straight at most of the spares as I was watching him practice. And he throws straight at that 2-pin. Never a doubt.
No hesitation whatsoever for the 23-year-old who prepped and played his collegiate bowling at West Texas State. But as Guppy Troup steps up in the 4th, he leads by 1. We'll be back with more right after this. Should Guppy Troup continue the string and end up with 12 straight here this evening, he could write his name in there. $25,000 thanks to the good folks at True Value Hardware Stores. And earlier this year, Mike and I mentioned just previously, Jim Harvey nearly got the pen and pencil set out and started to sign himself, but shot only 297.
And Guppy was joking with us before the telecast and said if he shot 300 the first game, he'd just take the 25,000 and leave and let somebody else bowl.
I'll bet he'd stick around.
I think so.
Perfect through three frames, I should say. Shooting in the 4th on lane 34.
And he doesn't get the light hit this time. So both bowlers are even, 3 strikes and 9.
Just in case you're wondering, yes, these two professionals have bowled each other before in match play twice. And Guppy Troup has won both times earlier this week. Troup defeated Jack Jurek 232 to 227.
Cross lane at the 7 pin, and no problem.
So we're all even now through 4 frames. And the winner of this match will move right along and bowl Kent Wagner, who was a finalist last week. 2 straight weeks, Mr. Wagner on the show.
Kent's still looking for his first win on television of any kind. As we see the scoreboard, that's as even as you can get. Lane 33. Ooh, Guppy's thankful they left only the 4 pin. He thought it was going to be worse.
Well, I've been waiting for you to say something, but what about Guppy's attire this evening? Is that one of your more favorite, or I should say most favorite uniforms?
Looks kind of mild, really, for Guppiness.
Well, the interesting thing is, if we can get a shot of it maybe somewhere along the way, he does have an orange and a lime-colored sock on as well. So he's gone the whole way this evening.
Cross lane at the 4 pin.
Guppy Troup, the oldest of the performers on television this evening, 36 years of age, but he's a youngster at heart. Speaking of youngsters, a very talented player here. Earlier this year, Jack Jurek captured his first PBA regional title in Texarkana. Finished second in another regional event.
It's been perfect on lane 34 and is again.
Mike, he's bowling with a lot of confidence at this stage.
5-step player, pushes the ball out on the 2nd step. Everything right in time. A little bend there. Look at that finish and look at the follow through right past his ear. Whistles that follow through right past his right ear. I love it. You don't see a lot of young players come out with as square a game as Jack has right away. You can see why he's done well in the college ranks. For a double, and he didn't hit it. As his brother throws his hands up in his air.
Well, the Jurek family rooting their son on here this evening.
Watch the head pin here. The head pin goes to the wall, and Jack gets in the way, and we can't see. This other pin, whatever it was, rolled over and almost hit the 7 pin. And interesting, too, Jack has failed to strike twice on lane 33. And that's the lane he's going to have to finish in the 10th frame on as he throws straight at the 7 pin. A good tip for the young players at home. He doesn't try and throw much of a hook at those spares.
It is a lot better to go straight at him, isn't it? Mark Roth, for years, probably the best spare player on the national tour, and he throws right at it.
Right at him, hard and straight. Although Earl Anthony was as great a spare shooter as I've ever seen, and he threw his normal shot at all of them. So there's all ways to do it.
I guess whatever is the most comfortable for you.
In Guppy's shoes.
Yes, a veritable cornucopia of color. Rainbow talent. That's what Guppy Troup, I guess, the best way to describe him.
Okay, Howard.
How about a rainbow Troup?
Well, right now we've got Troup down by 1 pin entering the 7th frame, and he needs a double to take the lead.
He is a very exciting player, make no mistake about that. He kids around a lot, has a lot of fun with the fans, and is the leading candidate for the Pro-Am Player of the Year, no question.
To take the lead. And it bounces it out there, solid.
Well, he bounced it into the 1-3 pocket, and it worked just fine. Troup at this point leading by 9, and I wouldn't say he's in control of the first match. We'll see how Jurek responds here. Back with the conclusion right after this.
This is Guppy Troup's last shot to take the lead. We see his reaction here. He's saying, hold solid. He lets him know about it, doesn't he?
For a guy who didn't want to come and play this week, he's kind of pumped up.
He's kind of into it. I know how pumped up Guppy Troup can get. Back around 1979, I bowled him in Fresno, California, and shot 268 against him and didn't win.
Oh, my.
I tied, but I didn't win.
Well, he's 21-17 overall on national television with an average of better than 217. But we need to focus our attention now on young Jack Jurek, and he answers the call. Praise for the flush hit and gets it. Big strike in the 7th for Jurek.
Even a bigger frame coming in for him in the 8th, though. He's down by 9 pins. He can't let Guppy Troup have the chance to get too far ahead of him. He must strike here to keep the heat on Troup.
Jack Jurek's goals, a couple of them, to be named PBA Player of the Year and also to win his first PBA title.
I like those goals.
And a trip to the Firestone Tournament of Champions. One of the outstanding young professionals on the PBA National Tour. Didn't like it at all, and I don't know why not. Shaking his head, no, no, no. But, Mike, it was 10 in the pit.
His family sure liked it, I'll tell you that much. There's his brother. It looks like his biggest cheerleader right there.
Brother Tom. And, of course, his parents, Jerry and Eileen, flying in from near the Buffalo area. As a matter of fact, we'll be there in just a couple of weeks. So if he makes the show, they'll just drive over. Guppy Troup trailing by 1 and looking for a turkey here in the 8th.
To take the lead back. I don't know why those pins do that when Troup is throwing the ball, but they seem to do it. Let's see if we can see what hits what here. The ball comes in high. The 2-pin, 3rd from the left, goes to the wall, comes back and misses the 7. I don't know what that pin was that came flying over and hit the 7. But Troup's watching it. And we thought he got excited on the last shot.
He is trying to calm himself down, I think, a little bit right now.
Absolutely.
Mike, that's detrimental at times to get too excited.
I never wanted to do that on the first shot when I didn't have the time to sit down when the other bowler was bowling the 2 frames, because I didn't have enough time to get that heartbeat back down.
Troup now leading by 9 and trying to strike in the foundation frame, the 9th. He likes it, and for good reason. For a second, looked like in his mind he might have thrown it a little bit wide, but these two professionals have really got the fans here at Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma, stoked up early, as they say.
And the situation that we have right now, Jack Jurek's in a must-strike situation. He's has a potential 259 if he would strike all the way out, going at a 229 pace right now. 229 pace right now. He's down by 19. Heels hanging off the back end there. He's been perfect on this right lane. Needs to be one more time. Oh! Well, this kid can answer the bell, can he?
How would you like to be Kent Wagner right now? He is bowling out of the number 3 seed position, and he is waiting in the wings, watching nothing but the X's on lanes 33 and 34.
Well, all you can say is, hey, I'm glad they're shooting it against them and not me. And there we see. Right now, Jurek down by 9 pins, the 169 to 178. This is to take the lead back to get this first one in the 10th. And he is certainly, we said he was going to face his baptism of fire tonight, and he's been answering the challenge. See how he performs in the 10th frame with the pressure on. Can't throw it any better than that, Denny.
I talked to him just before the telecast, Mike, and I said, I realize this is your first appearance on national television, Jack, but have you ever bowled on national television or on television before? And he said, yes, the national championships I did, and also when I was in Australia. I said, how did you react? He said, fine. I never really had much of a problem whatsoever, and I'm not really that nervous here this evening. And his bowling is beginning to speak for itself. Possible 259 should he go off the sheet.
Just look at this, though. I mean, he takes the glasses off. He wipes his forehead. He does a lot of things that shows he has a lot of experience. He's not in any big rush to get up on that approach. He's getting himself under control before he makes this very important shot. Leading by 1 to make it 11. Oh, boy, I'll tell you what, I like this young man.
Jack Jurek with his 9th strike of the match. And now we'll head over and discuss mathematics with Harry Golden and also Chuck Pisano.
And there it is. You cannot throw the ball any better than that under pressure. His game, his solid game, has come to the forefront under the pressure. He reminds me, just looking at him, on actions and the way, almost physical appearance of Mike Albee.
Oh, they've got one on the left side now. How'd you like to have one on the right?
And just something didn't feel right. He pulled his hand out of the ball, puts it down. He's putting a little air into that ball just to get him, maybe it's a little perspiration or something, to have the composure to walk over and check that score your first time on national television.
It's a little frightening. Possible 259 if he takes it off the sheet, and he does. Big, big game for Jack Jurek, who gets a marvelous round of applause.
Well, he's done his job. He had 12 shots and threw 10 strikes and shot 259, and he can lose. And believe me, this man can do it. I told you I shot 268 and did not win. Guppy's Troup has to have 2 strikes in the 10th frame to win this match.
Professional bowlers live and die in the 10th frame. And there you see the graphic. 2 strikes and also some count to win and advance into the second match.
And we've just had score after score like this all summer long. Come down to the 10th frame no matter whether it's big score or little score.
Been a marvelous summer for bowling on ESPN. Troup trying to answer the call. He's down on one knee, and he's got the big strike. First shot in the 10th.
Well, somebody's going to lose with 250.
That's a shame.
That is a shame. And he wants a re-rack. He doesn't like the rack.
Now, is he buying time at this point, Mike, or do you think he really doesn't like the rack?
I think he really doesn't like the rack. No, I don't think he's buying time. We see it there, and it looks like maybe the 3-pin was a little into the left there, and he's worried about a 10.
It's amazing that the professionals, with the eyesight that they have, if a pin's just a touch, maybe even a 1/4 of an inch off spot, they can detect that.
Well, sometimes it's a little paranoia, too. You can see solid 10s on good racks sometimes.
You can see the solid 10 before you throw the shot? Mike, you never did that.
No, 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 no.
Well, Troup obviously needs this one to win match number 1, Jack Jurek. Concentrating on lane 34, as is Guppy Troup. This is the shot of the match. Lets it go and likes it. And swishes the rack for a big, big double in the 10th, and Troup is beside himself.
I'll tell you, if he keeps going like that for 4 games, we're going to get the paramedics in here.
I wonder what his blood pressure is right now. Probably somewhere around 268 beats per minute, which is what he's going to shoot if he strikes here in the 10th. Or I should say the final shot in the 12th.
And if he strikes on this, both players wind up with 10 strikes, and he just keeps it on the lane.
And he'll take 7. A handshake, and what a marvelous opening match here in the $125,000 Hammer Open. There's the score, 265, 259. Those two professionals certainly putting on a superb show, and Jack Jurek shaking hands with his father and his brother. You can't do much better than he did, shooting 259 in his opening chance on national television. It wasn't quite good enough. Don't forget, coming up next, to look at bowling news. Seagram's Premium Wine Cooler Bowling News. Welcome to this week's edition. That 1986 PBA money race is about as close as they come. How close is it? Well, 3 players at this point are all over the $100,000 mark. Here's a look now at the top 5 as they stand at this point. Should Walter Ray Williams win this evening or finish in the runner-up position, he would take over that top spot at better than $109,000. David Husted, who finished 23rd this week, added another $1,250 to his 86 earnings. Heading up the second 5, Don Janello out of Perrysburg, Ohio, while local favorite David Ozio of Vidor, Texas, who completed play in 13th place this week, is now moved into the number 7 spot, just ahead of second-year pro Tom Kreitz. Mike Albee is also in the top 10, and top seed Brian Voss, well, he could jump all the way to 6th with a win this evening. he will do no worse than to add $9,500 to this year's bankroll. The race for the Woman Bowler of the Year is also very close so far in 1986. And, of course, $5,000 in bonus money added by the Seagram's Wine Cooler people. Well, that's a tremendous prize for whoever wins this year's race. It's very close. Here's a look at the top candidates at this point in 1986. Lisa Wagner is the leading money winner and also has one title. She tops the list. Young Wendy McPherson, who won the coveted U.S. Open title, well, she's obviously in the running, only a teenager and still an amateur bowler. Then you have single tournament winners, Jeannie Maiden and also the veteran Patty Costello. Cora Fiebig, another amateur, is in the running because she captured the WIBC Queens tournament. And Cindy Coburn and also Lori Nichols are currently under consideration because of their consistent showings thus far this year. I'd like to take a moment now to at this point, salute some of the brand new leaders among the bowling world. At this point in time, Sonny France is now the new president of the Bowling Proprietors Association of America. Joe Dahl now is the newly elected president of the American Bowling Congress, and Steve James is the top man among the World Bowling Writers. And on the junior front, some outstanding bowling this past week. John Belt out of South Carolina won the Young America Bowling Alliance Scholarship Tournament, which was hosted out in the Emerald City, Seattle, this past week. He just barely edged out Mike Lickstein of Connecticut. The winner received a $5,000 grant, while the runner-up, well, he added $3,000 in scholarship funding. For the past 47 years, the National Bowlers Journal out of Chicago has selected All-American bowling teams, and this year is certainly no exception to that rule. Here is an exclusive look at the 1986 teams, both the men and the women. There you see them now. Among the men, well, they're headed up by Mike Albee, who garnered the most votes. Also on this year's team, a quality quartet of Mark Baker, Steve Cook, Marshall Holman, and also Walter Ray Williams. Highlighting the women's squad is Captain Patty Costello, a veteran of nearly 20 productive years of professional bowling, which has produced more victories than any other women pro, a total of 25, and the wife of our number 3 qualifier in the Hammer Open this evening, Lisa Wagner, also a member of this talented 1986 team. Joining me now is the proprietor here at Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma, and also the guy who has really put this tournament together, the $125,000 Hammer Open, Richard Altman. Richard, did you ever in your wildest dreams expect this tournament to turn out the way that it did?
Not really, Denny. I knew it was going to be a very successful tournament because all of us have worked very hard for the better part of 5 months, but the thing just began rolling and rolling, and gosh, the proprietors around the state of Oklahoma have really pushed this thing. Everybody gives me all the credit for doing all the work, but the real credit is the bowling proprietors around the state of Oklahoma. The little towns have just turned out in mass for the Pro-Am. They've all had a real big time, and I think that's really the big factor in our big Pro-Am.
Well, all I can tell you is, Richard, is when the pros who bowl bad say they had a good time at the tournament and they enjoyed it, then you've obviously done something right. Let's touch on that Pro-Am. The largest Pro-Am for a first-year tournament in the history of the PBA. Would you have 1,500 AMs bowl?
We had 1,375 adults, Denny, and 275 kids. And it was near capacity. We started our Pro-Am actually on Thursday, so it was a 3-day Pro-Am.
Now, this tournament has been an outstanding success, and you've already started to talk to me about perhaps 1987 here in Edmond, Oklahoma. What are your plans?
Well, we've started to think in that direction a little bit. We're definitely going to have the guys back, and we're working on some things to make it bigger and better for next year.
Bigger and better, though. It sounds very good to me, and I know all the pros will be back. They'll enjoy themselves. The hospitality here in Oklahoma and Edmond has been outstanding, and the bowling obviously has been terrific as well. Thanks for stopping by, Richard.
Thanks, Danny.
The bowling news is being brought to you by Seagram's Premium Wine Cooler. Welcome back, everybody. Denny Schreiner along with ESPN color commentator Mike Durbin. 7 perfectos this week at Boulevard Bowl, and I'm not talking about cigars, Mike.
No, you certainly aren't, Denny. I thought we had a lot of 300s last week when we had 4, but this week we had a whopping 700, led off by Bornhop and Branham. Bob Chamberlain had one, local favorite David Ozio, Jim Pensek, Harry Sullins, and of course old Deadeye, Walter Ray Williams. There were also a couple of 299s. by Jeff Bellinger and Sam Macarone, who just missed our telecast tonight, and John Gant, who also just missed, had another 299. Some of our weekly stats that we show every week, the whole field averaged a whopping 210 this week. Lefties 211, righties 210. You needed 212 to cash, and the highest scores this summer, 220 average to make our top 24. In our match play, Kent Wagner, who's really hot right now, 17-7. The most games over 200, Guppy Troup. We haven't heard his name in a while, 37 out of 42. And the most consecutive 200 games, 19 in a row, by Brian Voss. Some of our prominent non-cashers, a list of people don't want to be on. Pete Weber heads it up this week. Don Janello, the great Mark Roth didn't make any money this week. Ernie Schlegel, Wayne Webb, well, he was on the show last week and back to not cashing this week. And Gary Dickinson, bowling in front of his sponsor and a lot of favorites here, didn't make any money. I know he's disappointed.
Mike, as you look at the top 24 finalists this week, it may have been the most talented top 24 of any tournament thus far this summer.
Well, what I notice in the top 24 is it seems to definitely be a changing of the guard, Denny. We get a lot of younger players, and you just see the new faces creeping in, and the guys that are going to be dominating our sport for the next few years. John Gant, who shot a miserable 140 his last game to miss. Ricky Sajak was on earlier this year. Of course, Mark McDowell bowling well again. Sam Macarone, as I mentioned earlier, just missed. Some others here, David Ozio, my ex-doubles partner, Gil Sliker, finished 14th this week. Bobby Jacks, who finished second a couple weeks ago. And, of course, Sweden's Mats Carlson. Amleto Monticelli finished 19th this week. Dick Weber finished 20th. And George Pappas, Hall of Famer, 22nd. And Art Trask held up 24th place.
The bowling news has been brought to you by Seagram's Premium Wine Cooler. Will Guppy Troup continue to swim upstream? Well, Kent Wagner will. We'll find out in just a moment or so right after this. Next week on ESPN, it's the $125,000 Molson Golden Bowling Challenge, live Wednesday, July 30th at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and that'll be at the Rose Bowl Lanes in Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Coming up in our next match is Kent Wagner making his second consecutive championship round appearance. Kent last week just barely lost when Rod Pasteur got a double in the 10th frame. We see his unusual style of dropping the ball down and then kind of running after it. Good hand release at the finish there. What Kent is thinking about, Denny, right now is he's still looking for that first win on television. That's his big thought in his mind right now. He wants to get over that hurdle, and he figures he can go forward and win his first title if he can get over that hurdle.
Thus far in his career, he is 0 for 4, but really has bowled well enough to win probably 3 of the 4 matches that he's participated in on television.
And Guppy said it worked the first game, giving Holly a kiss just before he started, so he's going to do it after every game, obviously, as long as he stays out here.
I think Holly kind of likes that, too. Guppy Troup, 5'8", 175 pounds. And he is all excitement, both on and off the lanes.
And he points the finger at Dennis Baldwin from Hammer or something. Maybe somebody was talking about a solid 8 in between. He'd much rather it stood now than that's first or second one in the 10th frame.
He is really loose at this point, and a player of Guppy's ability, when he does get loose, will just run rampant at times.
He can. Guppy really has that ability to just keep throwing strikes and stringing him. And
but he was slowed in the first by a solid 8-pin. Knocks it down, and he'll walk back with a spare in the first.
Nothing he can do about that.
Kent Wagner last week qualified 3rd for the televised finals, but lost to rookie Rod Pasteur 201-195, and it was a heartbreaker. He got beat by a Brooklyn, if you recall.
Well, that's the way he started last week.
Mike, when Kent was warming up, I noticed he was using a couple of other different bowling balls. He switched to this one right at the end of practice. Do you think he might have found something?
Well, I'm certain he hopes he has.
Had the best match play record of any of our television finalists this week. 17-7 overall. That's very strong in match play on the PBA Tour.
Well, he wants to win 1 match play on television right now. And the way to do that with Guppy Troup is get out ahead of him. ball hit like a ping pong ball. He almost had the 4, 5, 7 up there, and he was running it out, and he winds up with just a 7 pin. Watch the ball come in light and deflect, and the pins go to the wall and just die. Comes off and barely hits the 4, and something hits the 5, but he could have had a tough split there.
Nearly left that 5-7, and Mike Durbin's bowling tip this week is how you convert the 5-7. But obviously in your days on the PBA Tour, Mike, you never left many of those, did you?
That's the only reason I could make it, is because I had so much practice.
Oh, I'm glad you said that and I didn't. Wagner with a spare up in the second, has 20 now in the first, and Guppy Troup will go back to work on the right-hand lane. Will he be able to shake off that solid 8?
I'm sure he will.
He's in his own zone, as they say, at this point. Shot a beautiful 265 the opening game, and will the 4 fall? No. Back and forth a few times, but will not topple.
And you see, he's relaxed now. We're in the 10th frame. The adrenaline was flowing. He threw the ball a little harder in the 10th, and this ball just finishes a freckle right here at the end. And the 2-pin nicked the 4, but it didn't fall over.
Mike, today's contemporary player, the power player, the strong player, the lifter, Guppy is almost a throwback to the old school. He's a field player, does a lot of things with hand positioning.
He's a down and in player and does a lot of things exactly right with hand positions.
In other words, rather than change bowling balls sometimes, he might just go ahead and try and speed it up, slow it down, loft it a little more.
Exactly. If we see his style right here from behind, kind of walks around the ball, but gets it right in line here. Now watch his follow through, Dan. See, he sends that follow through right on the line that the ball is going. Ideal right there on the follow through.
Guppy Troup bowling out of Neptune Beach, Florida. Grew up in South Carolina.
And was born in England or Scotland, wasn't he?
Scotland. Mm-hmm.
Soft 10, and interesting, he threw 9 out of 12 strikes the first frame and is still looking for his first strike here. He's had every ball in the pocket. And that's just an intangible something that happens as you're going. You just know those pins are going to fall over sometimes, and others, and it makes it so tough.
I've watched him bowl quite a bit through the years, and I can't remember ever seeing him react as emotionally as he did in that first game. He's been in a slump. Do you think maybe he's trying a little bit too hard in that first game and come down a little bit in the second game?
I think what he's trying to do is to pump himself up, is to really get the adrenaline flowing, and figures that he has his best chance of winning that way, but he has 4 games to go.
Kent's wife, Lisa, top player in the world among the ladies in 1983, and certainly maybe on her way to another title, and her husband with a solid shot on lane 34, along with Dave Husted. Mike, he might be considered one of the hottest players on the tour this summer. He has qualified for the last 4 finals, top 24.
Right. I'm sure that that's a big achievement for Kent in his own mind, but right now the important thing is he leads by 2, is he wants to win this first game here and then go on from there to win a title.
Kent had a high game this week of 278, a low game of 168. It was that kind of a week. Plenty of high scores, but from time to time, from pair to pair, some low scores as well. Wagner leading by 2, would love to make it 12. Likes the shot, and for good reason. It's a strike. So Kent Wagner doubles in the 3rd and the 4th, puts the pressure on Guppy Troup. Wagner leads by 12.
We got exciting action right now as Guppy Troup trails by 12 pins. Needs to get something going. Light, and still searching for that first strike. Almost had the 2-4-5 up there. The 2-pin fell into the 5.
Guppy on the week averaged 226.2. I know you mentioned during the bowling news that you had to average just a fraction better than 220 to make the finals.
Make the top 24. That's,
wow.
That's a lot of pins.
Oh boy.
I never did like to see, or in my latter days, I didn't like to see those high scores as he sticks at the line. It almost went over.
A little ballet act on Troup's part, but he does not foul. Stayed behind the line on lane 34. Guppy trailing by 13 has 4 consecutive spares after shooting 265 to defeat Jack Jurek in the opening match here of the $125,000 Hammer Open.
And he's still smiling and joking with the crowd, but he's falling further and further behind. If he doesn't start striking pretty quick, that smile is going to disappear.
Last year, Guppy earned better than $64,000. Thus far this year, $12,500. So he is well behind pace.
And another solid 8. What are you going to do? The fortunes of bowling on the PBA Tour. One game they all fall, and the next game nothing will fall.
All right, now I'm going to put you on the spot. When you throw a shot that good, Mike, how in the world could an 8-pin stand up? I know what you're thinking. What are you asking me for, right? Well, why is that? It's obviously a perfect shot.
The pins is just a freak. You know, the ball chops the 5 straight back off the 8. It's these fast pins. They give and they take away, and right now they're flying so fast that he chops that 5 off the 8 and leaves the solid 8-pin.
Now, Guppy wouldn't make any kind of an adjustment on the left-hand lane, having hit the pocket flush twice and leaving solid 8s.
If he does,
he's crazy,
I'd
right?
like to know what that adjustment was.
Maybe a thoughtful prayer before a shot on lane 33. Kent Wagner leading by 14 and on a double here in the 5th.
And Kent just quietly keeps sneaking in those strikes and going further and further in front.
As we've already mentioned, his career television record 0-4 with a 201 average.
Kent Wagner top by 24. Watch his hand release here at the bottom of the swing. The fingers are at about 5 o'clock there, rotating up to, about 3:30, 4 o'clock. Not a lot of turn, but good lift. See the loft way out on the lane? Pretty direct to the pocket. Kent's going pretty straight. I remember when he used to hook it quite a bit. He's cut that hook down quite a bit.
For a 34-pin lead, and he waves this one goodbye. That was the old El Toro shot. Had no chance to ever hit the pocket. He knew it.
El Toro?
Oh, sure. Now, you got to wave at those and say goodbye.
And he chases the ball in his normal approach, and this one he just got way too fast and just threw it out the window. He knew it was gone. He wanted the strike too badly. Must make this spare to keep his lead on Troup. And he's in trouble. Oh! Not the way he planned it, but he'll take it.
He has been overdue for some breaks on television. Make no mistake about that. He's bowled pretty well through the years on television and just hasn't been able to come up with a victory. As you see Guppy Troup moving up to the line and sliding. He stuck on the spare shot the last time around and just wanted to check himself. You don't want to go up there in your mind thinking that there's a possibility that you might stick.
If you do, it's pretty hard to make a good shot. It's hard enough to make a good shot, and let alone wondering if I'm going to stick.
And he needs one desperately, has 5 straight spares, but he trails by 20.
And he says, all right, 1 for 6.
And he even has a quip for Kent Wagner. As I talked to Jack Jurek, Mike, before they even started this evening, he said, Denny, I'm really glad that I'm bowling Guppy Troup for the first time on national television for me. He said, because I know he'll keep me loose, and I know we'll have some fun, and he's just that kind of a player.
I know, but personally, I never like to do that. I never talked to my opponent when I was bowling like that. I mean, I wasn't out there to be friends with him. I was out there to beat him.
Ooh. He won a few times, too. And so is Guppy Troup. I guess you could almost call him the Fuzzy Zeller of the PBA Tour. Well, the 8-pin wouldn't fall, but the 4-pin that time kicks out. So Guppy is on a double, tightens up the match considerably. Wagner leads by 10. Back with the conclusion of the second game right after this. Guppy Troup has obviously bounced back here at Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma. And he now trails by only 10. Kent Wagner with a spare up in the 6th. Will try his luck on lane 34, and his luck has been pretty good on the right-hand lane.
He's got to keep striking, though, because Troup is liable to strike out. That's the way to strike. Interesting. He's just dead flush to every shot on that lane, and he picked a finish on 33. We should explain that the bowler who's higher in the standings has his choice of where he wants to finish. And Wagner chose to finish on lane 33. And then we see the score there. 10 pins separating these two players. Troup working on a double, Wagner on a single strike.
It has been a marvelous tournament, and the fans here in the Edmond, Oklahoma area and the surrounding area have just been superb. They have really enjoyed the show.
High, right through the nose. light the last time. He didn't want to make that same mistake. And he's struggling on lane 33. He just steers this ball up high again. Could have got a split. Gets a break, leaves only the 3-6-10, which is difficult enough in itself. And his mental attitude is down right now. He must make this spare, or I think he'd be defeated bowler. And he does. Maintains his 10-pin lead, but he is not confident right now.
Guppy Troup is working on a double and could make it a turkey here in the 8th after starting with 5 straight spares, although 2 of those hits were solid 8-pins.
Nothing you can do about that. This is to even the match right here. We're getting down to crunch time.
He's going to take a good look at it. Jumps about 3 feet up in the air and lets the pins know exactly how he feels.
And the difference here is we see this ball going dead flush in the pocket right now is Guppy Troup's emotion. The adrenaline right now is pumping more, and that increases his ball speed on the lane just a little bit more. He's not as relaxed as he lets on.
Should Guppy Troup strike out from the 9th, he would shoot 246. And the best that Wagner could come up with would be 236. So Guppy Troup right now in control of his own destiny. Taking a little more time than I think I've ever seen him take.
Just to take the lead, though. And he was looking for the solid 8, but it fell over that time.
No, that was never in the back of his mind.
No.
Perfect shot by Guppy Troup.
Dead flush, all 10 in the pit. And as we saw just before this replay, a little bit of a disgusted look on Kent Wagner's face as he gets up in the 9th frame. Must strike, and that is going to do it. As he busts it down to leave the 6-7, he must make this, Dan. He has to make this.
A disconsolate Kent Wagner has come so close and has bowled well, very well at times during the championship finals, and he just cannot draw himself a break. Goes wide for the split conversion and just does not quite get the 6-pin. Nice round of applause. Guppy Troup,
he had the
mopping off his forehead, realizes that he just got himself a big break.
Right, and Kent had the look of a defeated bowler when he got up in the 9th frame. To me, his thinking is not quite right on the television show. It may be getting here, as his 17-7 match play indicates, but he's not thinking right on the show.
Finally strikes on lane 33. That'll do his heart some good, but unfortunately, the best that he can score right now is 212.
He still has a chance. If he strikes all the way out, he can force Troup to mark.
Which is the way you have to approach it. Wagner led heading into the 6th, but Guppy Troup with a 4-bagger just snatched that lead right away.
And that's it. Troup is going to be a winner and go on to face Walter Ray, one of the 3 leading candidates for Bowler of the Year.
For Kent Wagner, a 4th place finish here in the Hammer Open. That will be worth $5,500. We might mention that Jack Jurek collected $4,500 for finishing 5th this week.
Not a bad payday for your first time in a PBA tournament as a member.
No, and I'm sure he's probably already thought of a number of ways that he's going to be able to spend that $4,500. But it's onward and upward for the bowler from Neptune Beach, Florida, who tries to trip the 4. The fans ooh and ah, but Guppy right now, believe me, is a very happy bowler. Will be his 2nd straight game over 220. He shot 265 in the opening match. He doesn't take much time once he's got things locked up as he throws it flush again on lane 34. Guppy Troup, a winner in match number 2. 225 to 202. There you see the graphic as Troup mops his forehead off one more time, and he'll have his work cut out here in the semifinal match. We'll be back with Mike Durbin's bowling tip, how to convert that pesky 5-7 split, right after this. Next week on ESPN, the PBA Tour travels up north. Live Wednesday, July 30th. It's the Molson Golden Bowling Challenge in Ontario.
From there, we go to the Greater Buffalo Open, the $110,000 tournament at Thruway Lanes.
And from there to Erlanger, Kentucky, the Columbia 300 Senior Touring Pro Doubles Championship.
And we finish it all off with the $115,000 PBA Seniors Championship. Live Wednesday, August the 20th at 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time.
Sounds pretty good to me. I know any of you that have bowled through the years out there have obviously left that 5-7 split on a number of occasions. Stay tuned. Mike will explain how do you convert it.
For the next 3 weeks, we're going to be looking at pocket splits, why they're left, and how to convert them. Tonight, the pocket split that we're going to look at is the very common leave, the 5-7. The first question that may come to your mind is the same one that came to mine. Why did I leave that 5-7? Well, I left that 5-7 for one of two reasons. The first one is that I didn't play the right line. Maybe I played too far inside, and there was oil there, and the ball didn't grab the lane and slid and didn't get enough of that head pin to drive in and get the 5. The second reason may be that I didn't get enough finger lift. In other words, I didn't lift the ball hard enough with my fingers to make it drive in. In any case, I've left it. How do I convert it now? Well, again, I recommend shooting the 5-7 off of my strike line. And as we've done so many times in the past weeks, my strike line or target is the second arrow. And I'm standing on board 21 here with the inside edge of my left foot and aiming at the second arrow to try and get a strike. And I leave the 5-7. Well, how do I move, or how far do I move to make that spare? Well, the book actually says that I should move 2 boards to the left to make the spare. But I have always found that when I do that, I come up a little heavy on the 5 pin. So I kind of add in about an extra half a board. 2.5 boards left, and shoot that same second arrow to convert the 5-7. And let's see if I can make it. Again, I'm standing over here now on board 23.5. I'm going to throw my regular strike ball, same as I threw in the first ball. It left it for me. Maybe I can make it with it. And the second arrow is my target. Here we go. And that's how you convert the 5-7. If you're like me and you don't throw that big hook, you might be faced with this leave several times. Work hard on it. You'll find that you can improve the number of times you make it simply by maintaining a positive attitude toward it. Next week, we'll look at a different pocket split, and that'll be the 5-10.
Coming up next, Guppy Troup. Well, he'll have to match up with Walter Ray Williams Jr. He's ranked number 3 on the current money list. A tough prospect. Back with that match right after this timeout.
Right now, we're going to take a look at what they're going to make this week. Jack Jurek wound up in 5th place with $4,500. Kent Wagner took home $5,500 this week, which is not a bad paycheck. The loser of this game is going to wind up with $7,000. And then we see $9,500 for second and $18,000 to our champion tonight. Walter Ray Williams, one of the hottest bowlers on the PBA Tour, has won twice already this year. Has what I call kind of a gangling style. He's tall, pushes it out, arms and legs going a lot of different places. The swing is out a little bit here, brings it back in nice and close to his ankle. The follow through comes up, and he's learned to throw the ball straight. He's learned to hook the ball. He makes his spares. He has a unique way of shooting his spares with only 2 fingers. He's become a very, very competitive player on almost any lane condition, Dan.
He'll have to bowl well here this evening. Guppy Troup with another kiss. Each one getting a little longer, too, for Holly, his wife. It's worked pretty well thus far. Guppy Troup averaging .245 through his first 2 games in the championship round this evening.
And what did Guppy say his goal was now? Is to stay married to the same woman? Is that what he said?
Yes,
his goal was?
He didn't tell me how long he was going to stay married, but he said that was what was important to him. First shot right through the old nose, and was very fortunate to escape with less than a split.
He's very loose and relaxed again starting this match. Walter Ray, though, is not loose and relaxed. Walter Ray is a competitor.
He's tough as nails, too.
Tough as horseshoes, huh?
Uh-huh.
And no problem.
Guppy Troup is yet to miss a spare this evening, and that's very important in championship round play.
You have to have an open of any kind.
Walter Ray Williams Jr., 26 years of age, bowling out of Stockton, California. 6'2", 172 pounds. Made $54,000 last year. This year, over $100,000 for the first time in his career. Here's first shot, a little wide, comes back, and Walter Ray opens with a strike on lane 34.
And Walter Ray is using a very straight hand release here, playing the ball just down and a little break at the end. That's the result right now.
Walter Ray, as I chatted with him before the televised finals this evening, told me that he struggled a little on this pair in tournament play. Averaged only 195, shot a 166 game and a 224 game. So he's, I don't think, coming into this with a lot of confidence. However, lanes change every day, and obviously they're probably different today than they were in the tournament.
What amazes me about Walter is his ability to vary his speeds and do well as he stuffs the first two shots. What I mean by that is that he has learned to, when he needs to, he can throw it hard. And when he needs to, he can throw it slow. And he's been successful with both ways. He's learned to throw the ball straight, learned to hook it. It's amazing what he's learned to do in a very short time out here.
And that's why he's number 3 on the money list.
And could go to number 1 tonight.
Yep. I think Guppy sensing that if he doesn't get out of the gate in a hurry here this evening in the semifinal match, Mike, it could be sayonara.
Those kisses won't keep knocking the pins down forever.
I like your style myself. I should mention this right now. Before the telecast started this evening, I told Guppy if he won tonight, I would quick change into a pair of his pants for the trophy presentation. And boy, I hope I don't have to eat my words.
Well, you're not rooting against it, though.
No. Oh, I look funny with a pair of those checkered pants on, though.
What I want to know is, are you going to change right here on the stage?
That could be interesting.
And Guppy gets the 8-pin out.
Beautiful double by Guppy Troup, who answered the challenge. And you really have to do that on the PBA National Tour, don't you, Mike? When a player steps up and doubles, you better come right back and strike just to show him that it's going to be a long, tough match.
That's why I retired.
Yeah, they'll send you home in a hurry. Walter Ray Williams Jr., one of the rising young stars. Very strong, very agile, and extremely accurate bowler.
Well, he has that natural accuracy that comes from pitching horseshoes. Takes a re-rack. We see his swing here. Now watch the swing as it comes back in. It kind of comes back and then out to the right. See it right there out. Now he brings it back in. There's his next to last step. And he brings it back in here nice and close and right straight through it and right over about the 8th board. And his left arm is almost touching his right arm. Look at it. It's all the way behind him there.
I think
Palmer Falgren used to do that a little bit.
The thing that's interesting to me, too, Mike, is if you watch his head action, he really juts his head when he lets the ball go. It's amazing he can see his mark.
His head does not stay level like some players. Ooh, the 4, 6, 7.
Well, just as we were discussing that marvelous arm swing, up jumps a big split.
Right through the heart of the pins and no break. Breaking up the split. You expect to get something like this when you hit that zone, but you hope that you'll break it up. He didn't. Walter Ray can throw hard, and I'm assuming that that's what he'll do here. Just fire hard at the 4-7 and hope something bounces around. And that's what he's done. But it didn't bounce around, and he's open and falls behind.
For the first time this evening, he finds himself behind by 6 pins. Guppy Troup working on a double. Would love to strike in the 4th. We'll be back with more right after this. There you see it, Guppy's first championship round appearance of the year, and he's taking full advantage of it.
He says, I don't get here often. I got to win. He's up by 5 pins right now. Wants to make it 15 with one more here.
Won his last title a year ago, capturing the Austin Open. But led that one from wire to wire. Shot a 300 in the first game and just never looked back.
Then he shot 180 on television and won the tournament.
Did he really?
Yes.
180. Looking for 3 in a row. Thumps it out there, and it's a solid strike for Guppy Troup.
Get a ground level shot of Guppy Troup. His hand release here. Fingers rotating from about 5 just about to 4. Not much turn. Not the lift that you see with some of the power players. Kind of a little pitter-pat there. But he gets the ball rolling, and he certainly gets good reaction.
So many ways to strike. He's done that this evening. Had 9 strikes, make that 10 X's in the opening game.
More lift on that one, and leaves the soft 10. It increased the speed a little bit, but he actually lifted that ball harder than he did the other one. So you don't have to have that power lift in order to get the strikes. Watch the ball. It's going to deflect to the right. See it deflect here? And the 6-pin just nudges off into the channel. Doesn't have the power to come back out and hit the 10. Uh-oh. Oh, he's got it. No problem. He wasn't worried.
He took a good long look just to make sure it would stay on the lane. This is Walter Ray Williams' 7th appearance in the championship round this year. That's tops among the PBA pros.
Right. That's fantastic. 7 appearances in the top 5 in 1 year.
And consider this, there are 9 tournaments left. I should say 8. Trying to come right back, and he does.
And we find the same thing happening. Kit Wagner hit lane 34 and struggled on lane 33. When he had his choice, he chose to finish there. And Walter Ray Williams Jr. has struggled a little bit on lane 33 as we see his finish here. Watch his head kind of lift up as he comes through, and he grimaces. And look at that left arm.
That's great if you're trying to scratch your back. Oh my, whatever prompted me to say that. Trails by 14, but could cut the lead to 4 with a clutch double here on lane 33. He likes it, and he's got it. Big shot for Walter Ray.
Just one errant shot so far for Walter Ray Williams.
And it's cost him dearly because Troup turkeyed 2nd, 3rd, and 4th frames. Working on a spare now, though. And no, don't start to adjust the color on your television set. Those pants really are 2 different colors. My old high school colors, Firestone High School in Akron, Ohio, the green and gold.
I don't think you're going to get him to get out of them, though, to let you get in them.
I doubt it.
A little tight in the pocket, but it carried.
Sort of fitted that shot in there. High and flush. Ball seemed to hold just at the last second and just enough for the big strike.
Well, that's what we say, the old frozen rope shot, and we see the difference here. Troup up by 4. 3 frames to go, or 4 frames to go. Needs to increase it to 14 here because Walter Ray will probably keep striking.
Interesting to note, Walter Ray looking right at the foot of the approach, not watching Guppy Troup at all. Troup trying to double in the 7th.
Oh, the first solid 10 we've seen by anybody. We've had a few weak ones, but that's the first solid 10.
It's amazing, Mike. I was here throughout the entire tournament, watched all 6 rounds. Very few solid 10s this week. When the pros hit the pocket here at Boulevard Bowl, the pins normally went down.
Bad break there for Troup. He left the soft 10 in the 6th frame, or the 5th frame, and the solid 10 in the 7th frame. Makes them both.
Spares up by Walter Ray Williams, pondering a turkey at this point. Will have to come back and strike if he hopes to take over the lead. Walter Ray Williams trailing by 4, but Mike, he's on a double shooting in the 7th.
Can take the lead with a strike here, and he hasn't missed lane 34 yet.
And this is no time to start. Marvelous talent, as Mike mentioned. 4 times the finest horseshoe pitcher in the world. It's not easy.
He's the defending champion. Oh, he's there. You know, he put on, as he gets one more and takes the lead, he put on a little demonstration exhibition for the people here out in the parking lot, set up 2 portable posts, you know, and threw ringer after ringer after ringer after ringer.
It's amazing. The horseshoe makes 1 revolution, and it's always wide open as it hits that post. If he doesn't get the ringer, he hits the post.
It's kind of like my ball, 1 revolution.
Right, it was 1 revolution and then 6 or 7 pins. No, but it really is. If you ever get a chance to watch him pitch those horseshoes, and if you ever pitched him yourself, you know how difficult that really is. Right now, he's trying to pitch it into the old 1-3 pocket. Leads by 6, could extend it to 16. He likes it. And unfortunately, the 10 pin didn't.
Keeps the match really interesting.
Would he have a little more speed on that shot, Mike,
Just
that
a
time, what do you
freckle.
think?
The adrenaline, yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking, Denny. The adrenaline was flowing. He threw it just a freckle harder, and it hit half pocket.
This championship round, not for the faint of heart.
And Walter Ray has a unique way of shooting spares. He uses, most of the time, just his ring finger and the thumb, and throws the ball straight at it. Takes his middle finger out of the ball, out of the hole, and the ball goes straight. And he's had great success in making spares that way.
Gary Dickinson
Uses the middle finger.
Right.
And takes his ring finger out.
And I think, are those the only 2 players on the national tour that shoot spares in that fashion?
And the only 2 to my knowledge right now, yes.
And 2 very good spare shooters.
There may be some more trying that.
Yep, it works.
Troup in the 8th frame on lane 34, trailing by 5 pins. Actually, it looked like he threw that ball just a freckle wider than he had, and he got what we call the overreaction. The ball hooked a little quick and set up for the 4-pin.
It appeared he knew it all the way as soon as he let it go.
He was hoping, as we watch the 2-pin, 3rd from the left, goes to the wall and gets the 7, but misses the 4. If he makes this, he's down by 6 pins with 2 frames to go. So again, it's going to come down to what we see almost every week. The player who can perform in that 9th and 10th frame is going to win. No trouble.
Mike, what's going through Guppy's mind? He's left the 10-pin the last 2 shots on lane 33. What kind of an adjustment does he make there?
The only adjustment he makes is that he just knows he has to strike here. It's a feeling that you get in after you've had so many of these competitions, so many of these match games. He's in the situation. He knows he has to strike here in the 9th frame to set himself up for the 10th if he wants to go on and bowl and try and win another PBA title in the championship game. Should
Guppy strike out, he would shoot 238. Should Walter Ray strike out, 244. Crucial shot in the 9th. He stood up a little bit on it, right through the nose, Mike, and was very fortunate not to split.
And for the first time in 3 matches, Guppy Troup has not responded to the pressure. Every other time in that situation, he responded positively to the pressure. This time, he made a poor shot.
Left that same 3-6 in the 1st frame. As our statistician Chuck Pierce points out, nice to have Chuck back. He was gone the last couple of weeks working the junior bowling camps, instructing.
No trouble. Even though he looked a little worried, never a doubt.
So the best Guppy Troup now could shoot if he struck out in the 10th would be 226. And right now, Walter Ray Williams Jr. of Stockton, California, after a re-rack, could really put some heavy pressure on Guppy Troup.
He gets a strike in the 9th and the first one in the 10th, and Troup is going to be history. He needs some kind of double, either in the 9th and 10th or a spare in the 9th and 2 in the 10th.
Walter Ray with a high game this week of 300, one of the 7 perfect games tossed by the pros this week.
There's the first one. One more, and he's going to be a winner.
Walter Ray averaging 227.6 for his 42 games this week. And in the process, even though Dave Husted made the finals and finished 23rd, Walter Ray has retaken the 1986 PBA average lead by just a fraction.
Got an interesting battle going on there, too.
Oh, my.
As we did last year with Mark Baker and Marshall Holm.
Didn't it go down to the final week?
The final game.
Oh, jeez. That's close.
For the win. Oh, you can't throw it any better. That's the difference between Walter Ray now and Walter Ray maybe a year ago. He just knows, he has that confidence, that inner feeling that he can respond to these situations, and he does.
I think the players on the tour are beginning to realize more and more what a competitor, and his ability to concentrate. Walter Ray Williams in the future going to be a very tough customer on the PBA tour.
You don't become a world champion at anything without the ability to concentrate.
You know, it's almost as if you've been groomed for that pressure by competing in those world championships, and he is just throwing it right in the pocket, the old daddy lockup strike. Handshake from Guppy Troup, who just realized, hey, I got out-bowled.
Walter Ray made one errant shot. He had the 1 ball high in the 4th frame, paid the full penalty, and left 1 of the 10 pin. If he strikes here, he's going to wind up with 10 strikes and 244.
Just 1 open. That one came in the 4th. Other than that, he has just lived in the pocket.
One more, dead flush. Brian Voss better have his strike clothes on.
Oh, I'm sure he does. He's the top seed player, Mike Durbin. He's worked hard all week. He's going to be ready to bowl that title match. Guppy Troup wasting no time in filling out. 10 strikes for Walter Ray Williams Jr. 244, a big game in the semifinal match. And with that victory, Mike assured himself of retaking the PBA money lead. He can do no worse now than to grab the top spot, winning $9,500 if he doesn't win the championship.
But Walter Ray's thinking is right, and he's not content with just taking the lead by a few $100s. He wants to win his third title and put himself $9,000 or $10,000 in the lead in the money and really thrust himself to the forefront as the candidate for Bowler of the Year.
Guppy Troup with a trick shot, but it's not quite enough. As in the semifinal game, Walter Ray Williams Jr. comes up with a 244-212 victory. And Brian Voss is coming up next. The top-seeded player, Brian Voss, out of Tacoma, Washington. Two quality right-handers will meet here in the title match of the $125,000 Hammer Open. There you see top seed Brian Voss out of Tacoma, Washington. And Voss averaged nearly 230 this week for 42 games. He is ready and gearing up for the championship game. Walter Ray Williams Jr., obviously a winner in the semifinal match, who will be his opponent. To the winner, $18,000, and to the loser, $9,500.
Brian Voss, a four-step player, holds the ball waist high, right out there, pushes and steps right about at the same time with that right hand and right foot. Gets the ball down. It's in proper position here. Comes up in the backswing. Opens that shoulder a little bit at the height of the backswing. But closes it back up. Left arm out for balance. Watch the follow through. Right straight up. The heel post up there. It's pretty good form to me, I'll tell you what. Resulted in a 229 average this week. That's not bad.
High game this week of 298. Had 11 in a row, and told me he got a little bit excited and cut it just a little bit short. The fans here were really treated to some high scores at Boulevard Bowl in Edmond, Oklahoma.
And he's taking practice shots right now. And I mentioned at the top of the show, Dan, that this was his 5th championship round appearance of the year. He was looking for his first title, and what I meant is his first title of this year. He has 2 PBA titles already, but he hasn't won since 1984, and he I think has to win again in order to get back in the Tournament of Champions, or he feels he does, even if we don't know everybody that's in that tournament yet. We won't know until the end of the year. But a definite third title would lock up being in the Tournament of Champions for quite a while for him.
He's been a little unfortunate on television. He's finished 4th 3 times this year and 3rd 1 time.
And he shot some high scores to lose. Mark Ross shot a big game at him. Leroy Bornhoff shot a big game at him. So he's bowled well.
And now we have the opening shot here in the championship match. Brian Voss will start on lane 33.
And he looks a little uptight to me.
I think he realizes the pressure is going to be on from the get-go. Opening shot.
Oh, and another solid 10. Haven't been many, but he starts out with 1.
Brian comes back with a half smirk on his face, and I think in the back of his mind he's thinking, holy cow, I couldn't throw it any better than that.
And you watch this 6-pin, second from the right, as the ball enters flush into the 1-3 pocket, and that's 6. How did it miss it?
A wraparound 6. Never even touched it.
Straight at the 10-pin. No hook at all, as most of the pros on the PBA Tour do.
All right, Mike, who has the advantage? Walter Ray, because he's just coming off a big game, big 244 game, and is lined up on the pair, or Brian Voss?
There's no doubt in my mind that Walter Ray has the advantage right now. He's loose, he's relaxed, he's confident, no nerves. He's ready to go. And he gets the 10-pin to fall. The wind knocked it over.
It's one of those swirling 10s. Walter Ray with 10 strikes in his opening victory over Guppy Troup.
Solid, and watch the 10-pin. It just nicked it. Same as Brian Voss, but the head of the 6-pin just nicked the middle of that 10-pin to knock it over.
Just a fraction between striking and leaving solid pins. Walter Ray to open up with a double, and he does. He is just solid as a rock right now. And Brian Voss, I think, very much aware of the fact that if he doesn't get off to a very quick and early start here, could be in very serious trouble by the 5th or 6th frame. Voss, 5'10", 160 pounds. Last year, won better than 45,000. This year, nearly 60,000. He's having a very solid year. Right back with a strike of his own. And Brian Voss, after leading from the 3rd round all the way to the end of this tournament, is not going to give up easily.
He picked a finish on lane 34. The only player that did that has done that so far. Most of them picked a finish on 33, but he feels he can step up and throw that double in the 10th frame to win on lane 34 if he has to.
Brian winning 15 of 24 match games this week. Shot 349 over for 8 games on Monday night, the opening round of match play, and that's where he vaulted into the lead. Looking for the double.
Oh, 2 bad breaks. I mean, he threw everything but the kitchen sink at that 7-pin.
Somebody nailed it down. Wow. That is about as tough a break as you'll get in a championship match. Just thrashed the rack. Pins dancing all around the 7. Never touched it.
And as I say, we have a changing of the guard, even though these two are established players. Voss is 27 and Walter Ray is 26. With solid games, they could be around for the next 10 years or better.
Well, as we mentioned, Guppy was the oldest player on the telecast at 36.
And we
Jack Jurek, only 23.
We teased Guppy about it, too.
Oh, yeah. All in good fun. He is a joy to watch bowl. Really an entertainer. And here's a hardcore blue-collar worker. Walter Ray with a half hit, couldn't coax the 10.
That keeps Brian Voss in the game, though. And that's what Brian is thinking right now as he's sitting there. At least he stopped striking. Is all he's thinking. You know, I've gotten 2 bad breaks, but he stopped striking. I'm still in the match.
Brian has bowled out of the top-seeded position 3 times in his career, Mike, and he's won 2 out of the 3.
He's had favorable results there. You see the middle finger out and the ring finger in, cross lane at the 10-pin. That's how you make it.
It's almost a backup ball, Mike.
Well, you don't have to throw a hook to knock that 10-pin down, Dan.
And it's the old adage, too. You don't have to throw the ball as hard, I think, as some people do at times to knock down the pins. Sometimes it's better just to get a good, solid roll. You get better pin action.
As Walter Ray takes a re-rack on lane 33. Takes another look at it. Likes this one.
Walter Ray winning his first PBA championship earlier this winter, came back and led the next tournament and lost a very tough match to Mark Baker. A very capable young player.
Ooh, right back in there.
A solid strike in the 4th for Walter Ray Williams Jr. He's working at this point with 69 in the 3rd, and he leads by 9. Brian Voss will have to step up and try and double in the 4th and the 5th.
And we're looking at 2 of the representatives from Fab-Ball Hammer sponsoring this tournament. On our left, Earl Widman, the president of Fab-Ball, and on his left, Johnny Wonder.
Did you realize that Mr. Widman was one of the finest motorcycle riders in the country, in the world, as a matter of fact, in his earlier days?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
You know, I have a motorcycle.
You do?
Yes.
You wouldn't want to race him?
No, I have a Kawasaki 650.
Brian Voss in the 4th, trailing by 9.
Through the heart of the pins, leaves the 6-10, and Brian Voss is in trouble.
Obviously his worst shot of the match. It hit the pocket the first 3 frames and was a bit unlucky, had only 1 strike. But that obviously not the kind of effort he needs to beat Walter Ray Williams Jr.
He's going to have 220, 230, I think, to beat Walter Ray. Cross lane 6-10, can't afford any errors here. Has it.
Of the television finalists, Mike, Brian Voss compiled the highest average during match play on the championship pair. Had games of 235 and 269, average 252 on lanes 33 and 34.
But you get off to a start where you go 10-pin strike, 7-pin like that, it can have a negative input into your mind. And you just start thinking wrong, and the game is too short. You can't allow yourself to do that in a 1-game match. You can get away with that over a 6-game block or a tournament sometimes, but not in a 1-game match. He's got to get something going, and does.
Walter Ray will step up in the 5th, working on a strike, leading by 11.
Walter Ray, from all of his competitive experience with horseshoes and everything, has that ability to put his opponent away, to put them to sleep when they need to be put to sleep.
He manufactured some marvelous shots in the 9th and the 10th to close Guppy Troup out in the semifinal match.
For the double, up by 21, one more, make it 31, and Walter Ray just smells the victory. You can just see it. It's written all over his body English. It's written all over his face. He's in total command halfway through this championship game.
Should he win this evening, that would be his 3rd title of 1986. He would be the leading money winner, the leading average candidate, and you would have to say in the race for Bowler of the Year, he would have nudged himself just about a neck ahead of the rest of the crew.
He would be, he'd get my vote at that stage.
Well, if they stopped it after this tournament, you're right.
Not over yet, though. Just didn't get the lift on that one that he got on the previous one.
But he liked it, Mike. He ran it out, so in his mind, he probably thought he threw a pretty good shot.
Walter Ray will run out a lot of things, I'll tell you.
What's that, the old fake-out shot? Try and psych your opponent out? Yeah. Oh, I like that comment. That was a classic. Did you used to run out many?
I was never sure of him.
Yeah, sure. Anybody that wins the Firestone 3 times
Ooh, he just
has obviously been pretty sure about things through the years.
Brian Voss down by 20, but then if he can step up here and strike on lane 34 and strike on lane 33, he can get himself even the match. I think this is the most important shot that Brian Voss has thrown all week long right now.
Tossed it right through the nose on the right-hand lane his last trip. Let's see if he makes the adjustment.
He threw it wider. Oh, he hit the 8-pin, wanted to stand, but it fell over.
I think the ball hit it twice.
We're going to get a look at it here. Brian Voss gets it well out of the lane this time. A little right of that second arrow, and you can see from right now as the ball's arcing that it's going to be flush in the 1-3 pocket. Watch the 8-pin. And was that the hip pin that nicked it?
No, I think the ball did.
Well, something nicked it. It fell over anyway. I'll have to see it again in order to even the match, though, right now.
I guess you could say that was a good break. He's had very few.
Looks good. Oh, it is good. We got a match.
Guess what? This one is dead solid even after that big strike in the 7th.
This one, carbon copy of the one before, only the 8-pin doesn't even hesitate here.
8-pin was double teamed that time. Mr. High and Mr. Low.
And we'll see how Walter Ray now responds to somebody putting the pressure on him. Ooh, the light hit rips that 5 over into the 7.
Well, that was just the dice-o-matic.
The dice-o-matic.
Wow. Pins were dancing on the deck.
And we have 3 frames to go, and we're all even. So this is what it's all about. We keep saying that over and over. We don't want to be redundant. But
I don't know about you, but I've moved to the edge of my seat
to take the lead. Oh, what a break! What a break!
That 4-pin right out. And where in the world did that break come from?
And Walter Ray backs off the approach. The ball goes high. Watch the 2-pin. 3rd from the left goes to the wall and hits both the 4 and the 7. Big break.
That's like working overtime. That could have ended up a split, Mike.
How will that affect Brian Voss and how he throws this next shot in the 8th frame?
Working on a turkey. And down by 10.
Good loft. Oh, it's high, and that's going to do it. 6, 7, 10, 6, 7, 9, 10. It's makeable. He has to make the split. What you do is you have to hit that 6-pin on the right. It flattens out, nicks the 9, and they go across and get the 7. It's a definite makeable split.
And that's his only chance right at this moment. Title on the line for Brian Voss.
He has it! Oh my! And they're standing on their feet as Voss comes up with a marvelous conversion.
Watch it hit the 6-pin on the right. Watch what the 6 does with the 9. It flicks in front of the 9 and goes across and hits the 7. perfect.
Mike, you described that as if you'd made it before. Is it really that difficult?
Well, they're all, any split is difficult, you know, but that is definitely a lot easier than the 6-7.
Well, they lost some count on that, too, didn't they?
Lost some count, plus he was already down 10. He's down 14 pins now, heading into the 9th frame. Must strike here to set himself up for the 10th.
Walter Ray Williams has to be thinking to himself, how in the world did he ever convert that? Big shot in the 9th.
Oh, and he trips the 4. Keeps himself alive, but Walter Ray has his fate in his own hands.
This is a shootout in Oklahoma right now, Mike Durbin.
Walter Ray going at a 2:28 pace right now. The best Brian Voss can get is 2:34. If Walter Ray strikes here and keeps a decent count in the 10th, he's going to win. Easier said than done, though.
Boy, this has been something this evening.
Very little time. Light gets away, leaves just the 2-pin, keeps the count up there. Walter Ray, for the first time in the 2 games, felt the pressure on that shot. Just did not get the lift that he wanted to. He's looking at that score, figuring it out. What he needs to do is convert this 2-pin. It'll be interesting to see if he shoots this with just 2 fingers like he has been. And he does. He takes that middle finger out. Even under this extreme pressure, he's going to throw it with 2 fingers at this spare. And he makes it easily. If he doubles in the 10th frame and gets 8, if my calculations are right, he will shut out Brian Voss.
He would shoot 235. The best Voss could come up with a turkey in the 10th would be 234. But a double in 8 is easier said than done when a title is on the line.
And maybe bowler of the year. Whew.
And this is what they hold the tournaments for, Mike.
Very little time. Looks good. Boy, he threw that well.
Brian Voss taking a good hard look at the AMF Magic score right above the television pair. He obviously knows what the score is at this point, and should Walter Ray strike here and come up with 8, and then he will have captured his 3rd title in 1986.
It's out of Brian Voss's hands. Yes! He says yes, and it is yes. Boy, you can hear Walter Ray all the way across the building.
Boy, his intensity, concentration, unbelievable.
Quite a contrast to Guppy Troup, isn't it?
Oh, my.
He wants a re-rack. He wants a re-rack on the fill ball. He needs 8. He knows it. He wants to hit that puck. He doesn't want any 4-9. Well, even a 4-9 to be a winner.
Sure, at this point, just 8. 8 is enough. Out of Stockton, California.
That's going to be enough. He has it, 237. He's won his 3rd title of the year and is the leading money winner.
He is a winner. Shoots 237 and he captures the Hammer Open. Back with more after this. What are we doing? Am I going or staying? What?
Mike Durbin back at the Boulevard Lanes in Edmond, Oklahoma. And there we see the final score. Walter Ray Williams with a big clutch 3 strikes in the 10th frame, beating Brian Voss 237 to 223. We're going to see in just a second here the final shot in the 10th frame that Walter Ray threw. This is the 2nd one in the 10th that he needed to lock it up. See it in slow motion here. Watch his head concentrating on the target. The same delivery he's had all the time under the pressure. Brings that arm swing back in. Soon as he let it go, he knew it was there. And you could hear him right about now yell, yes. And he knew it was there. He was just looking at the 10-pin at this point to see if it was going to carry. And it did carry. That was the winner for Walter Ray Williams. And right now, Denny is going to be with our winner, Walter Ray.
And the winner of the $125,000 Hammer Open, Walter Ray Williams, Jr. Now, be honest with me, Walter Ray. Was it as easy as it looked?
No.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, no. I had a lot of qualifying games to go through. I had a lot of high games, but I had a couple of really low games. In fact, I had a 160 on this pair, and fortunately, I didn't shoot a 160 today.
You sure didn't, and Mr. Earl Whitman, president of Fab-Ball Enterprises, has a beautiful trophy to present you.
I want to congratulate you, Walter, on a fine job of bowling from Fab-Ball, the home of the hammer.
Thank you.
And now stepping in, also the proprietor here at Boulevard Bowl, Mr. Richard Altman. And Richard, to the cheers of the hometown fans, will offer you a very, very nice winning check.
Walter, congratulations, and this $18,000 check will make you the leading money winner this year. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thanks, Richard. You're a great host, and I'm going to be back here next year, no problem.
It has been a marvelous tournament. Obviously, a tremendous victory for you. Your third victory of the 1986 campaign. And I know it's a lot to think about, but boy, are you in the hunt for the Bowler of the Year. You've retaken the lead in that race.
Well, still a long ways to go, but I'm pretty happy with my situation right now.
Mike, question for the champ?
Well, the first thing I want to do is congratulate you, Walter. Walter, you threw that second one in the 10th. You knew you needed it. About halfway down the lane, you yelled, yes, everyone could hit her. And you were sure it was going to strike at that time?
Well, I knew it was going in a pocket. I wasn't sure it was going to strike, but I knew it was going in a pocket.
You're going to defend your horseshoe title next week. Are you going to miss the next tournament? What's your plan?
Well, the horseshoe tournament actually already started. It started Monday, and I pitch on Saturday in Nebraska. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And then I'll miss the tournament in Canada, and I'll fly to Buffalo, and then I'll try and win another tournament.
So are you going to defend that title? What do you like your chances there?
Well, I've been pitching the best this year, and hopefully I can defend my title successfully.
And he's done an outstanding job. The winner of the $125,000 Hammer Open, Walter Ray Williams, Jr. Tonight's telecast has been brought to you by True Value Hardware Stores. The more you've got to do, the more you need True Value Hardware Stores. We've got what it takes. Don't forget, next Wednesday night, live from Windsor, Ontario, the $125,000 Molson Golden Bowling Challenge at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN.